What if I told you the key to reducing your Alzheimer's risk might not be in your brain, but in your gut? Right now, scientists at research centers across the country, Washington University, Duke, MIT, have freezers full of frozen stool samples, and they're using them to crack the Alzheimer's code. Trillions of microorganisms in your digestive system are communicating directly with your brain, potentially influencing your Alzheimer's risk. And this discovery is so new, it's changing how we think about Alzheimer's treatment, shifting focus from the brain alone to the entire body. What you're about to learn in the next 23 minutes could fundamentally change how you think about your next meal and your brain health for decades to come. And by the end, you'll know the 7 changes that can shift your microbiome in as little as 7 days, and which ones matter most for reducing inflammation. Here's why this matters to you, and to everyone you love. About 57 million people worldwide are living with dementia, and nearly 10 million more are diagnosed each year. That's roughly 1 new case every few seconds. Alzheimer's accounts for 60 to 70% of cases. For decades, we could only diagnose Alzheimer's definitively after someone died, by examining brain tissue under a microscope, looking for 2 telltale markers, amyloid plaques and tau tangles. But today, we can detect these changes while people are still alive, through PET scans, spinal fluid analysis, and even blood tests. In May 2025, the FDA cleared the first blood test to aid in diagnosing Alzheimer's in adults 55 and older with cognitive symptoms. It helps detect amyloid pathology with a simple blood draw, making diagnosis more accessible than PET scans for many patients. But here's the game changer, and why we're having this conversation today. Research teams across multiple institutions have found that changes in the gut microbiome may show up early in the Alzheimer's process, sometimes before major symptoms appear. Think about what that means. Your gut, that ecosystem you usually don't think about until something goes wrong, could be giving us early warning signals. A real window of opportunity to intervene. This is risk reduction science, not a cure. But the evidence is compelling. Today we'll cover what the gut microbiome actually is, how it talks to your brain, what the latest research is showing, and 7 practical, evidence-based habits you can start adding to your routine. Let's dive in. Imagine hosting a dinner party every single day, but instead of a few friends, you've got trillions of guests. That's your gut microbiome. A complex ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microorganisms living in your digestive tract. And they're not just along for the ride. When you eat a banana or whole grain bread, you're not the only one having breakfast. Millions of these microbes are dining with you, breaking down nutrients, producing compounds, and sending signals throughout your body. Your gut contains approximately 100 trillion microorganisms. That's more microbial cells than all the human cells in your entire body combined. In fact, if you could somehow count every single microbe in your gut, you'd find you're actually more them than you. Weird, right? Now here's where it gets fascinating. Your gut and brain are in constant conversation through 3 main routes. First, nerves. The vagus nerve acts like a fiber optic cable running directly from your gut to your brain. This is why you feel full after eating, or why you get irritable, hangry, when you haven't eaten. Fast, direct communication. Second, immune signals. Your gut bacteria influence inflammation throughout your entire body, including your brain. This is the inflammatory route. And third, chemical messengers. Your gut bacteria produce specialized compounds called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. The star players are butyrate and propionate. These molecules don't just stay in your gut, they enter your bloodstream and can influence inflammation levels, immune function, and even cellular signaling throughout your entire body, including your brain. This is the gut-brain axis, and for Alzheimer's disease, this connection might be absolutely critical. But here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. A discovery so recent, it's still being debated in the scientific community.
There's this balance between different organisms. And if certain organisms dominate and other ones don't, they can actually destroy the gut and that lining and then lead to a leaky gut and more inflammation. And that inflammation then can go around the body and even go to the brain.
Research suggests that microbial signals and molecules from your gut can reach your brain. not just through your bloodstream, but potentially through direct neural pathways. And these signals can influence brain inflammation, immune responses, and even behavior. Some researchers have detected bacterial DNA and molecular signatures in brain tissue that match gut bacteria. Now, because brain tissue samples can be easily contaminated, this part of the science is still actively debated. We're not sure if these represent living bacteria or just molecular remnants. What's not debated is that gut signals, through nerves, immune cells, and metabolites, definitely influence brain inflammation and resilience. But here's what is clear. In August 2025, Buck Institute researchers showed that gut-associated immune cells can be found in the brain and its border tissues in an Alzheimer's mouse model, suggesting the gut immune system may directly reshape brain immunity. It's early stage, but it opens a brand new therapeutic target. Your gut has its own nervous system, approximately 100 million neurons, often called the second brain. And it's in constant two-way communication with your brain, not metaphorically, biologically. They're not two organs working independently, they're part of the same system, speaking the same language. Which brings us back to the question, what happens when this system breaks down? So far, gut signals through nerves, immune cells, and chemical messengers. These influence inflammation, and inflammation plays a role in brain health. The changes can show up early. In a healthy gut, you have a diverse community of microbes working in harmony, like a thriving city where every species plays a role. Here's what most people get wrong. The healthiest gut isn't the cleanest gut, it's the most diverse gut. You don't want sterile. You want a rainforest, not a desert. But sometimes, certain bacterial species start dominating while others vanish. Scientists call this dysbiosis, an imbalanced microbiome. And this is where things get concerning for brain health. Your gut lining is supposed to be like a selective security gate, letting nutrients through, while keeping harmful substances out. But when dysbiosis happens, that barrier can become compromised. Researchers can measure this with lab markers. It's called increased intestinal permeability, or leaky gut. And stress makes this worse. Chronic stress raises cortisol levels, which directly weakens your gut barrier. This is why you might get digestive issues during stressful periods. Your gut and brain are signaling each other in a negative feedback loop. Now, let me be clear about something important. This doesn't mean that gut problems directly cause Alzheimer's disease. What we're seeing is that gut dysbiosis may worsen the inflammatory processes that contribute to neurodegeneration. The relationship is complex, and researchers are still untangling cause from correlation. When the gut barrier is compromised, harmful substances called lipopolysaccharides, LPS, can escape into your bloodstream. Think of LPS as an alarm bell. When it enters circulation, it triggers an inflammatory response throughout your body. And chronic systemic inflammation? That's concerning for brain health. It can contribute to the buildup of amyloid plaques and tau tangles, the pathological hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. In 2025, human studies found that people living with Alzheimer's dementia often show higher levels of pro-inflammatory gut bacteria, alongside shifts in inflammatory markers. That doesn't prove the gut causes Alzheimer's, but it strongly supports a gut immune link running in parallel with brain changes. So here's what researchers at Washington University, Duke, and several other Alzheimer's disease research centers wanted to know. When do these gut changes actually appear? The research team recruited volunteers and asked them to do something most studies don't request. They took brain scans. They analyzed spinal fluid. They did cognitive tests and blood work. And yes, they asked participants to collect stool samples, which is why research centers now have entire freezers dedicated to frozen stool samples. Wild, but true. But here's why it matters. They divided participants into 3 groups. Group 1. Healthy controls with no amyloid, no tau, cognitively normal. Group 2. Preclinical Alzheimer's, amyloid and tau present, but still cognitively normal with no symptoms. Group 3. Symptomatic Alzheimer's, high amyloid, high tau, and cognitive impairment. And here's what they discovered.
What do I mean by that? Well, when we looked at those individuals that had amyloid and tau changes, there were already, in a preclinical, were already changes in the gut microbiome, meaning that there were some species that were up and others that were down that were different than those that are the controls or what is seen in the general population.
Think about what this means. These beneficial bacteria aren't disappearing when Alzheimer's starts showing symptoms. They're vanishing years earlier. When people still feel totally normal, that's a window. That's hope. So what do these bacteria actually do? They improve your metabolism, lower inflammation, support your immune system, reduce cholesterol, and promote brain health. All the things we know are critical for longevity. Studies suggest these types of bacteria, found in higher levels in people who live exceptionally long lives, thrive on resistant starch and fiber-rich foods. And this altered pattern of bacteria didn't keep changing dramatically. It shifted early in the disease process and then stabilized in this altered state, with less diversity overall, remaining relatively fixed as the disease progressed. And in June 2025, a Northwestern medicine study linked a gut-derived compound called propionate to reduced Alzheimer's-like pathology in a mouse model by dialing down inflammatory immune signaling and reactive brain inflammation. It's preclinical, but it's a big clue. Gut metabolites may actively shape the brain environment. Propionate joins butyrate as a promising short-chain fatty acid being studied for brain-related inflammation. So the question becomes, which came first? Did brain changes trigger gut changes, or did gut problems contribute to brain pathology? The truth? We don't know yet. What we do know is they're changing together, possibly amplifying each other in a vicious cycle. Researchers are now following people over years to see which changes first. By 2025, multiple Alzheimer's mouse studies showed that fecal microbiota transplantation can improve cognition and reduce inflammatory signals. And human FMT studies for Alzheimer's are now registered and underway. We're waiting on stronger clinical results. But here's what matters most for you. These gut changes are happening early in the disease process, possibly before memory problems begin. And unlike your genetics or your age, your gut microbiome is something you can actually modify. The story so far: early gut changes, inflammation, brain health concern. But it's modifiable, which brings us to action. Which brings us to the most important part of this video: what you can actually do about it. All right, here's what you've been waiting for. What can you actually do about this? The good news, and I mean really good news, is that you have far more control over your gut microbiome than you might think. I'm going to give you 7 evidence-based strategies. These aren't opinions or trends. These come directly from peer-reviewed research on gut health, brain health, and Alzheimer's prevention. Let's get into it. Strategy number 1: prioritize fiber. Your gut bacteria absolutely love fiber, specifically something called resistant starch found in legumes, whole grains, and certain fruits. Here's why this matters. When gut bacteria ferment fiber, they produce those beneficial short-chain fatty acids we discussed, butyrate and propionate. Now, the average American eats about 15 grams of fiber per day. The recommended amount? 25 to 38 grams. We're collectively falling short. A typical breakfast might have sugary cereal, white toast, and orange juice, about 3 grams of fiber total. A gut-healthy breakfast? Oatmeal topped with berries, about 8 grams of fiber. Greek yogurt for probiotics. A handful of almonds, around 4 grams. Sliced banana, about 3 grams. That's roughly 15 grams of fiber. That's 5 times more fiber in one meal. You've just hit more than half your daily fiber target at breakfast, and you're feeding those beneficial bacteria exactly what they need. Now here's a simple hack that costs you nothing and amplifies the gut health benefits of foods you're already eating. Cook something starchy, like rice, potatoes, or pasta, then let it cool and refrigerate it overnight. When these foods cool, their starch structure changes at the molecular level, becoming what scientists call resistant starch. Resistant starch behaves like fiber. It passes through your small intestine and reaches your colon intact, where it feeds those beneficial bacteria that produce propionate and butyrate. Buck Institute researchers found that a prebiotic fiber called inulin helped restore gut immune balance in Alzheimer's mice and reduced frailty markers like tremor, though it didn't consistently erase plaques. In other words, fiber can change the immune terrain, even when the brain pathology is stubborn. You can eat cooled starches cold, think potato salad or rice bowls, or reheat them. The resistant starch remains, even after reheating. Same food, better for your gut, 0 extra cost. And you're feeding the exact bacteria that produce propionate, the compound Northwestern researchers found reducing inflammatory signals in 2025 just by letting it cool down. If you want a simple start, oats with berries, lentils, chia or flax, cooled potatoes or rice, and one fermented food, like yogurt or kefir. Your mouth is the first microbiome gateway, and what happens there can influence inflammation downstream, which is why oral health matters more than you think for brain health. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But first, let's talk strategy number 2, fermented foods. Probiotics are live, beneficial bacteria found in fermented foods. When you consume them, you're essentially sending reinforcements to your gut. Now here's something that's often misunderstood about probiotics. Most probiotic bacteria you consume don't permanently set up residence in your gut. They're more like helpful visitors passing through. And while they're there, they produce beneficial compounds, compete with harmful bacteria for resources, and support your gut barrier function. When choosing yogurt, look for live and active cultures on the label, and try to choose plain or lightly sweetened options. If you want it sweet, add your own fruit, or a dash of cinnamon. What about probiotic supplements? Here's the truth. The supplement industry is largely unregulated, and we don't yet have enough strong human evidence to know which specific strains or doses are optimal for Alzheimer's risk reduction. So my recommendation? Get your probiotics from whole foods first. They're usually less expensive, they come with other helpful nutrients, and you know exactly what you're getting. You might have heard that probiotics permanently change your gut microbiome after just one bottle. Not true. Most probiotic bacteria don't permanently colonize. They're more like helpful visitors, and they need regular resupply. So make fermented foods a daily habit, not a one-time fix. Now back to what I mentioned about your mouth. Your gut doesn't begin in your stomach. It starts in your mouth. And emerging research shows that gum disease, gingivitis, may be linked to increased dementia risk. The bacteria that cause gum disease can enter your bloodstream, travel to your brain, and trigger neuroinflammation, the same inflammatory processes we see associated with Alzheimer's disease. So here's what to do. Brush twice daily for 2 full minutes. Floss daily, yes, every day. And see your dentist regularly for cleanings. This isn't just about preventing cavities or bad breath. Taking care of your mouth is taking care of your brain. Strategy number 3, reduce ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are products engineered for shelf stability, convenience, and rapid consumption, not for your gut health. Look, I'm not going to tell you to never eat these foods. That's not realistic, and perfection isn't the goal. During holidays, celebrations, or when life gets hectic, yes, we all consume processed foods sometimes. That's being human. The goal isn't perfection, it's shifting the balance over time. Even small swaps compound. White bread to whole grain, sugary cereal to oatmeal with fruit, chips to nuts, regular pasta to whole wheat pasta with extra vegetables, soda to water with lemon. If you make just 3 of these changes per week, that's over 150 healthier choices per year. That's how habits become lifestyle. Strategy number 4, Mediterranean-style eating. Multiple long-term studies have shown that Mediterranean-style eating patterns are associated with protection against Alzheimer's disease. This isn't a diet in the restrictive sense. It's a pattern of eating that's been followed for thousands of years. The base includes vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and olive oil as the primary fat. The middle layer has fish and seafood 2 to 3 times per week, with eggs, yogurt, and cheese in moderation, and smaller amounts of poultry, with red meat only occasionally, and sweets saved for special occasions. And one of the often overlooked aspects of Mediterranean eating is the social component. Meals are shared, eaten slowly, and enjoyed with others. That matters too. What makes Mediterranean eating so powerful for the gut-brain axis? First, it's naturally high in fiber and resistant starch. Second, it includes fermented foods like yogurt and aged cheese. Third, it's loaded with polyphenols, plant compounds that selectively feed beneficial gut bacteria. The result? A more diverse, resilient, anti-inflammatory microbiome. So far it's simple. Feed your gut with fiber, support it with fermented foods, Stop the constant ultra-processed hits and build your meals around a Mediterranean pattern. 3 more strategies to go. Strategy number 5. Move your body. Here's something fascinating that doesn't get talked about enough. Exercise directly changes your gut microbiome. Multiple studies have shown that regular physical activity increases gut bacterial diversity, and specifically boosts populations of bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids. And here's the best part. You don't need to run marathons or spend hours at a gym. Research from the POINT study and similar trials shows that moderate, consistent activity is what matters. Studies show that around 150 minutes a week, about 5 30-minute sessions, can measurably improve your gut microbiome over time. Taking stairs instead of the elevator, gardening, playing with grandchildren, walking your dog, dancing while you cook. Any movement counts. Consistency beats intensity. Strategy number 6. Prioritize deep sleep. Because when you sleep, and I mean truly deep sleep, something remarkable happens in your brain. Your brain has a hidden drainage system called the glymphatic system. Here's how a leading researcher describes it.
So when a person passed, and then look at these 2 hallmarks of the disease, something called amyloid and tau. We are all making amyloid as we're speaking right now, and we're also making tau, but usually it doesn't deposit. It gets flushed out, and there are ways that's flushed out, including through sleep.
So let me show you exactly what's happening. You're awake, working, thinking, living, and as you do, toxins build up in your brain, like metabolic waste and damaged proteins, including beta amyloid, the protein linked to Alzheimer's. But when you enter deep sleep, and especially during that restorative deep sleep, the glymphatic system ramps up. Cerebrospinal fluid floods through your brain tissue, flushing out those toxins, clearing away beta amyloid, draining the waste. Your brain literally takes out the trash while you sleep. So, what happens if you regularly miss that deep sleep? Those toxins start to accumulate. That's the brain fog you feel, the mental sluggishness after a bad night. And over years, chronic sleep deprivation is clearly linked to increased Alzheimer's risk. Aim for 7 to 9 hours nightly. Keep your room cool and dark. Avoid screens an hour before bed. Keep a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. Sleep isn't optional. It's not lazy. It's when your brain does essential maintenance work that protects your cognitive health. Now, one final strategy that's crucial to protect your microbiome. Our final strategy addresses 2 connected threats to your microbiome: chronic stress and antibiotic overuse. Let's start with stress. Chronic stress directly harms your gut microbiome. It raises cortisol, weakens your gut barrier, and reduces bacterial diversity. Here's the good news. Many of the strategies we've already talked about, like regular exercise, better sleep, and Mediterranean-style eating, all naturally help lower stress levels. And if you're dealing with chronic stress right now, things like meditation, breathwork, therapy, or even just spending time in nature can make a real difference. Because your gut feels your stress too, so managing it isn't just mental health, it's gut health. All right, let's talk about antibiotics. Antibiotics are essential when prescribed for a bacterial infection. But here's what to know. Antibiotics don't discriminate. They eliminate good and bad bacteria. A single course of broad-spectrum antibiotics can alter your microbiome for months, sometimes years. The issue is overprescription. Antibiotics are sometimes prescribed for viral infections like colds or flu, where they don't help the infection at all, just harm your microbiome. Don't pressure doctors for antibiotics with viral symptoms like colds or flu. Instead, you can simply ask your doctor, is this bacterial? Are antibiotics necessary? If prescribed, ask about narrow versus broad-spectrum options. If you must take antibiotics, eat fermented foods daily during and after treatment. Focus on fiber-rich foods to help beneficial bacteria recover. Consider probiotics and talk to your doctor about the best timing. Most people's microbiomes start rebounding within weeks, but full recovery can take a couple of months or more. Think of antibiotics like controlled burns, sometimes necessary to save the forest, but afterwards, you must help the ecosystem regrow. Now let me address an important question: genetics. There's a gene variant called APOE4 that can raise Alzheimer's risk, roughly threefold with one copy, and significantly more for 2 copies. But it's not a guarantee. Plenty of people with this variant never develop Alzheimer's, and many without it still do. And here's the encouraging part. Recent research suggests the kind of lifestyle habits we've been talking about may actually provide even stronger cognitive benefits for higher-risk carriers than for others. There's also growing evidence that supporting a healthier, more balanced microbiome may help offset some of that inherited risk. So the message is clear. Genes can influence risk, but daily choices build resilience. And for higher-risk groups, those choices may matter even more. You can't change your genes, but you can change your daily choices. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or diverticulitis, high-fiber diets might not be tolerable initially. Work with your gastroenterologist and a registered dietitian for a personalized approach that supports both your gut condition and your brain health. The goal is finding what works for your unique digestive system, not forcing a universal protocol that might worsen your symptoms. Should you get your microbiome tested? My honest answer: not yet. Not specifically for Alzheimer's prevention. We don't yet know precisely which bacteria to increase or decrease for optimal brain health. Commercial tests can tell you what's in your gut, but they can't tell you what specific changes to make for dementia prevention. The research simply isn't there yet. Save your money. Focus on the evidence-based strategies we've covered. In a few years, this will likely change. The field is advancing rapidly, but right now, we're not ready for personalized microbiome interventions for Alzheimer's. If you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's, I want to speak to you directly for a moment. Weight loss is one of the most concerning signs of disease progression. People forget to eat, lose their appetite, or struggle with swallowing. Establish consistent meal routines. Make nutrient-dense foods easy to consume. Smoothies, nutrition shakes, whatever works for them. Pureed foods if needed. If they want ice cream, let them have ice cream, as long as overall nutrition is adequate. The goal is quality of life and maintaining strength, not perfect adherence to an ideal diet. Start healthy eating patterns early, before severe cognitive decline, so they become automatic routine rather than a daily negotiation. And please, take care of yourself too. You can't pour from an empty cup. So where is this research heading? There are 4 big directions on the horizon. First, microbiome transfer therapies, like fecal microbiota transplants, which are already used successfully for C. difficile infections. With promising 2025 animal data, early human studies are exploring safety for neurological conditions. Second, precision probiotics. Researchers are trying to identify the exact bacterial strains that produce the most neuroprotective compounds, then build targeted formulas around them. Third, early detection systems. Using gut microbiome analysis alongside blood biomarkers to create comprehensive early warning systems, catching Alzheimer's risk years or decades early. And fourth, personalized nutrition. AI-powered dietary recommendations based on your unique microbiome composition, genetics, and risk factors. We're not fully there yet, but the trajectory is genuinely promising. And here's what matters most. You don't have to wait for future breakthroughs to take action. The strategies we've covered today are available to you right now. Let's bring this together. Your gut and brain aren't separate organs working independently. They're part of the same system, speaking the same language. The trillions of microbes in your digestive system aren't passive. They're active participants in your health, producing compounds that influence inflammation, immune function, and potentially your brain's long-term resilience. The research suggests gut changes can appear early in the Alzheimer's process, sometimes before memory symptoms show up. But here's the truly empowering part. You don't need expensive supplements, complicated protocols, or perfect execution to make a difference. If you do just one thing from this whole video, eat one high-fiber food daily for the next week, because fiber is one of the fastest ways to support the microbes that support you. Start with one change, let it become a habit, then add another. Each choice is one brick. Over time, those bricks build a foundation that supports a sharper brain. Here's your 7-day challenge. Add one high-fiber food daily. Try one fermented food you don't normally eat. Brush and floss every day. Replace one ultra-processed item with a whole food option. Walk 15 minutes, 3 times this week. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep at least 3 nights. And take 5 minutes for stress relief, breathing, meditation, or simply sitting outside. 7 simple actions. That's your mission for the next week. And if you want to be part of the breakthrough, not just watch it, consider participating in research. Alzheimer's research centers are collecting microbiome samples and need volunteers. You can visit the Alzheimer's Association research page to learn how to participate. You could be part of the answer we're all waiting for. We don't have a cure for Alzheimer's yet, but we're making extraordinary progress in understanding it. And the gut-brain connection is one of the most exciting and actionable frontiers we've discovered. Every meal is an opportunity. Every choice compounds. Small changes, big impact. We're living in the first generation that can actually see the gut-brain connection, that can measure it, that can change it. That power is in your hands. Your future brain is being built by the choices you make today. Choose wisely. Choose consistently. And remember, improving your gut health won't guarantee preventing Alzheimer's, but combined with other lifestyle factors, you're stacking the odds in your favor. If this helped you understand the gut-brain connection, hit that like button. Subscribe to The Natural Fix for evidence-based health content you can actually use. And comment below, what's one change you're committing to this week? I read every comment. Thanks for watching. Take care of your gut. Take care of your brain. I'll see you in the next one.